Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and we are going to take a little bit of a left turn here. And instead of having a look at a particular knife or piece of equipment, kind of want to go over how I get my best edge and what the equipment that I use and all the bajillions of dollars that it cost me. And I'm sure that there's going to be somebody out there looking down and saying, "Holy cow! Is that what the POS is that guy uses to put an edge on a $500 knife?" And you know what? It is. And I have found that this is the best way for me to put the edge on it that I like. Now, before we get to that, just want to say, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. And when we do get to those 1,500 subscribers, we're going to do a complete knife breakdown of all my my collection. So we'll have a look here. We'll spend some time going through it once we hit 1,500 subscribers. So I appreciate you guys, each and every one of you, ever so much. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you think I've earned it. All right. So now, what brought me to kind of this is I ended up getting this ZT 0562 titanium, and it had the CP20 CV on here. Let's just see I want to make sure I'm right here. It's the Hinder Design CPM20 CV. That's it. And it came fairly sharp, but it didn't come sticky sharp like I like it. I mean, there are certain knives that I like to have a razor, like a mirror polished edge on it, just for the looks, and I like it. It gets really slicey. But for most of the time, I like my knives with a really sticky edge to it. Now, if you've hit that sticky edge, and if you've been sharpening knives and honing and stropping knives, and you hit that sticky edge, you'll know right away. When you touch that edge, rather than it feeling sharp, because a lot of people they'll do the thumbnail tests, or they'll do cutting through paper tests, or they'll even have a best machine. For me, I don't have a best machine which measures the sharpness of knives by what the weight is it that cuts a little piece of string. I don't have that. So how I test it is I test it with a kind of a 3-finger test. And certain knives that you get, and you get them so sharp they feel like they're sticky sharp, that you can take some super sharp knives, run your fingers along the edge, and it seems like, oh, it's just like touching a piece of glass or something, a very smooth piece of metal. I'm sure if you press really hard you're going to cut your fingers off, but this sticky edge that I'm talking about feels like it's dangerous. It feels like just taking your finger on it and just ever so slightly going side, it's going to cut and bite right into your finger. I guess another analog that you could look at is if you ever had a really, really sharp knife trying to cut a tomato. Sometimes, even though your knife is really, really sharp, just start to saw with that super sharp knife, and it's almost like it's just rubbing that tomato rather than cutting into that tomato. Where this edge will, as soon as you start to draw it or push cut, it's immediately biting into that tomato and cutting through it. That's the type of edge that I like, and I have found that this system gives me that edge. Now, I like to use my KME system to at least go to 2500 grit. On there, I've got the regular KME with the 150 grit starting stone, and then it goes up to 300, and then 600, and then 1,000. And then I like to do some of my own stones here that I've done, 1,000 stone, and then I like to do a 2,500 grit stone that I have some wet dry sandpaper on an old Edge Pro stone, and that gives me the 2,500 grit. If I want to go with a mirror polish, then I have some diamond lapping film, then I really go to town up to, I do believe I can go right down to 0.025 microns. So, but in the meantime, most of the time, I'm just going off the 1,000 to 2,500, and then I'm on to my strops. Now, the strops, most of the time here, I don't like leaving a big fat wire edge on most of my steels. Lots of times before I'll strop them, I'll give them a little bit of a run through these strops, through the side. Now, what these strops are, they're basically an old cutting board that I bought at the dollar store. It cost me $2, and it's like a bamboo laminate. It's straight. It was inexpensive, and that's what I did. And then I went down to a local, not a tannery, but it was just a local leather store, and I bought myself a kind of a little bit of a cast off piece of leather, and it really was inexpensive. I think it was $13. And out of that $13, I've so far built about 10 strops. And I've had other friends, I've built them for friends and family and stuff like that. But these are the two that I've kind of used just kind of more experimenting on. But then I found out that I've kind of hit on kind of a winning suggestion here. And then the final thing that I strop it with is this is called a Pike wireless hone. Now this is not something you can run out and get at any sort of hardware store. This thing is over 100 years old, and I got it from my father-in-law, but I do see them out there, and we'll go over that when we get to that. So what I start off with is I start off with a fleshy side up strop, and then I use the gray or the black, the most coarse stropping compound that's out there. And so where I ended up getting my stropping compound was I ended up getting it from the Stroppman. From a 4, and it just came in little tiny bricks like this. You can get other stropping compound from, say, the hardware store, Princess Auto, Harbor Freight. Those stropping compounds, are very inexpensive, $5-6 for quite a larger brick, and you know what? I think it's going to do absolutely fine. But I just happen to have these from the Stroppman, and it's his own little formula, so he says. But there was actually 4 of them. There was a red one that was even a finer one than the screen, and I never really liked it. It just never gave me the edge that I liked. So out of those, the 2 that I use from the Stroppman are basically a gray, and I also use the green. There is a white compound that came with it, and I've just found that the white compound is a really good compound just to have by itself. Like if you're out in the bush and all you have is one little strop, well, I think the white will sharpen as well as hone at the same time. But I just find when I put it on my regular strops, it just gets too used up really quickly, and I find that I'm cleaning and reapplying quite a bit with this white compound, and that's why I don't like it. It leaves a good edge, but it just is, the maintenance on it is just too much for me. So this is what I do, fleshy side with the black compound. You can also use this to I'm not really sharpen. I mean, a lot of times you don't need to put your knife on the Edge Pro or your KME system or any of your sharpening stones. You just need to simply strop them back into sharpness, and that's what I use here. This gray or black sharpening compound is the coarsest compound, and it's a really, really nice compound to bring your knife back to a good edge. And so what I end up doing is just kind of doing my regular stropping, probably about 10 on each side. I'll wipe it off, and then I'll flip to the other side, and I go right from black right to green. Here, let me get this on here. So then I go right to green, and I'll do probably 10 on that way too as well, 10 on each side. And I'll be checking too the sharpness, because sometimes it'll go right from the gray to the green, and it'll be biting sharp just like that. And then I just keep on going a little bit. Now you can overstrop your knives, which I have done multiple times. And basically what happens is if you've got too steep of an angle, what you're doing is, and you're pressing too hard, what you're doing is you're wrapping the strop around the steel, and it's basically flattening out your edge and dulling your edge. Now I used to strop my knives just as kind of a it's just a relaxing thing. I'd sit in front of the TV, I'd break out a knife, I'd strop it up, and I would always go past the point of diminishing returns. So I would take it to go from sharp, the sharpest it would be, and just because it's so relaxing, I would take it right past that and I would dull it, and I'm like, oh man, it kind of went a little bit too far. And it's just from not just, I think, overdoing, but it's also not paying attention as much as you should, right? When you're stropping a knife, yes, we've been doing this for a long time. We can do a couple of quick strops and we're good to go. But if you're going to do a really, really sharp biting edge, you definitely want to pay attention, all right? And that's attention to your angle. Whatever your sharpening angle is, if you've got, say a 20-degree angle that you've sharpened at, you want to go just a smidge 1 degree past or so, just to give yourself that little bit of extra to make sure that you're hitting nothing but the apex and you're sharpening the apex. There's a couple of things you can do too as well. One of them is, and I won't do it here on the leather. Sometimes I do it right on the very edge. So what happens is I will lift up my edge, and then once I find out where it starts to bite, you can see how it's biting in. that's the edge that I'll take and transfer over to the thing, to the strop side. So you go back like this. Now you go forward, 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 forward. Oh, now it's biting right there. I know that that's your edge. You're right at your apex. And then I'll take it, turn it to the side, and I'll go like that. And you'll see sometimes where you have things like this, where you've bit into it. You've just been not very careful, especially with the tip too as well. You can see little scrapes here. You'll gouge into your leather. That's most of the time you'll find out your leather. You need to replace your strop is when you've just gone too far and it's just so old that you've gouged it a bunch of times. It doesn't give you a crazy flat surface. You know, sometimes you can sand those things out when you're reconditioning your strops. Other times you've gouged so deep, it's time to get a new one. All right, so now once I go to the green, I will go over to my other strop. Now this strop here it's got different things written on it. I used to experiment with this stropping material here where I was putting different diamond grits on there and different diamond types. There were sprays. I found a gel. I found diamond, paste that you could rub on there. And what I found that I really like is I like a product here. Here we go. And it's this diamond emulsion spray. Now I have one here from Hand American. It's a little bit thinner than this one. It came in a 1 micron, a half a micron, and a 0.25 micron, and I found that I love the 1 micron. Now I ended up ordering this out of England. It's Enzo out of England, 1 micron diamond emulsion spray. I actually ordered cubic boron nitrite, CBN, and I ended up getting the diamond because I wanted to try out the CBN, which is a material that is not quite as hard as diamond, but it's harder than any steel you have out there. And I just wanted to give that a try. They sent me this diamond spray in kind of a gel, and I absolutely love it. It is fantastic, and it goes a long, long way. And it's just you can see here, it's not really watery, really viscous. It's just fantastic. As far as 2 little sprays, and I can treat this whole other surface. Now I'm at the point here where it's getting to be where I need to clean this off and reapply. But I just thought I'd show you that's how easy it is to reapply this particular diamond spray, and I absolutely love it. And I will usually let it sit and wait for it to completely dry. And so what I'll end up doing is I'll be doing a whole bunch of stropping on just the 1 micron. And now lots of times that gets me right to where I really like to have that bitey steel. I don't always go to the 0.5. As you can see, it's not quite as dark because it just seems like the 0.5 is smaller and it may get you a sharper best rating, but it doesn't get me that stickiness feeling that I like here. And I like that stickiness feeling because it grabs and cuts into things, and it may not cut as sharp as, say, push cutting straight down like on a best machine, but it will cut, I think, nicer when you're sawing into fibrous materials or a tomato or things like that. I love that. So, and then what I finish off with is this here. This happens to be a antique pike wireless razor hone. Now, the reason they call it wireless is because lots of times when you're sharpening, you have a wire edge on there, and these little holes are designed to catch the kind of the swarf. It's also designed to break off the wire edge very, very easily. And this material leaves the best bitey edge I've ever felt on any sort of knife, and any steel that I've tried. This is awesome. Now the thing when it came to me, it was very, very concaved. I ended up just taking it and putting it on some old sandpaper, and I just kind of basically flattened it out until it was really, really quite flat. Now, I don't know what this is made of. Now, it's not a hardened stone like an Arkansas black, like a Black Beauty or something like that. It seems like it's almost an extremely hard resin with some sort of grit inside of it. Because when you actually are sharp or honing with this, it will leave, as you can see here, it leaves just a little bit of the stone behind on the edge. So it's almost like it's really, really kind of sticky. And you can see here, like if I take it and I wipe it off, you can see here that it's taken some of it off. And then I'll just do this. So I won't strop this 50 or 100 times. Usually this thing here, it only requires 5 or so strokes on each edge. And then it leaves the absolute best edge that I think, as far as I'm concerned. The stickiness. Now you can see how it's come off, it's built up a little bit there. There you can see how it's, it's taken some off. Now this is so sharp. Now this here is this cloth here is a really kind of almost like a cotton cloth. It's an engine building cloth. It has no fibers that leave behind, so it's just an excellent all around knife cloth. And I'm not sure if you can see how just easy this bites into that. You see how it just the, not even the weight of the knife. I was very hardly even pressing into it, and it'll just cut this stuff just in half like it's nothing. See how it just blasts right through it. And that's the kind of edge that I really love. And you can feel it's so sticky sharp. I would love to put this edge on a best machine. I would love it. Now, now, not everybody is going to be able to find themselves one of these kind of pike wireless razor hones. But you know what? Have a look around on garage sales, on antique razor kits, stuff like that, eBay. You could be, if you find one, snap it up. I did see some online. I saw one online one time for, I think it was $7 at on eBay, and I'm like, holy cow! $7, bring it in. And I was actually gonna bring it in, and but I forgot actually, and I lost that one. I didn't win that sale. I just kind of forgot about it. It was one of those things in the back of my mind, and life happens. I should have bid on it, and I should have put an auto snap bid on it up to a certain amount of money, but I didn't. I was dumb and I lost out on it. So if you ever see one of these, don't forget to snap it up. I mean, it's, if you see one for $500, you don't need to get that. But if you see one up to, say, probably even $50, I think you're going to be a winner with that, especially if you've got a knife habit and you're a crazy SOB like me, and you obsess about this stuff way too much. That is going to get you, as far as I'm concerned, the best edge that you're ever going to put on a knife is finishing off with that. So I hope this kind of gave you just a little bit of a rundown, just a little bit of a, this is how I do it. And you know what? You may do it a little bit differently. I do appreciate hearing some sort of comments here for sure in the drop comments. I like to hear what is in your stropping kit. If you guys have got something that's a little bit different or something that I should try out, please leave me a link or leave me a comment in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to check it out. So please stay safe out there. Please keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.